Monet.
And I'm Leah.
And today we are going to talk about being the black sheep in the family.
Yes.
As y'all know, we try to talk about things that people can relate to, and I feel like this is a big one.
Yes.
Whether it was just, you noticed that someone else was being favored in your family by everybody, or literally being the outcast.
Right.
Nia, have you ever felt like the black sheep of your family?
Yeah. I'm the weird one. Yeah. I never felt it with my family down south. They was just like, all right, she's a little different. She's more quieter than the rest of us. She's to herself. It was regular. Like, I mean, my grandma thought it was like a mental health issue. She was like, this bitch is crazy. Like, why?
Okay.
Everybody else was like, whatever. It's when I moved to New York that like everybody was pointing out my differences. Like, all right, you're a bitch, and I'm like, I'm 12, bro. How am I a bitch? Like, you know what the fuck a bitch mean? Like, what are you talking about? It was just like my mom, she has a aunt, I ain't gonna say her name, me and her cool now. But she was the one who first called me a bitch for being an introvert. And I'm just like, I don't know you. I did not know her when I first met her. I did not know her. Like, I'm not gonna be like, hi, auntie, whatever. You're not even my real aunt. So I'm not, you her aunt. And if y'all didn't listen to the backstory, that's not my real mother. So you her family, like, you're not my family. So she was like, oh, she's a bitch. She don't like to talk to nobody. She don't like to do this. She don't like to do that. And I'm just like, okay. And now I'm definitely never going to talk to you again, stupid, because
you just called me a bitch.
Yeah, like, but at that time, I was 12 at a cookout. You just cursed me out in front of all these fucking people, and you're mad because what? Because I didn't come up and greet you. I said hello to everyone in general, and certain people I gave hugs to and stuff like that.
Who you knew.
That's who I know. I don't know you. So what you're supposed to do as an adult is introduce yourself. Hey, I'm Auntie so-and-so from blah, 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 blah. Okay, and then I will probably be like, oh, okay, I'm Nia, so da da da. Which I don't know you, so I'm not gonna talk to you. I don't know you. How I would handle things is always different from like my family. Like everyone else would accept disrespect, and I used to be like, all right, then I'm not fucking with none of y'all. How about that? Like, I don't care if none of you guys are involved in my life. I was always different with how I handle things, and I never cared about cutting people off. And
especially because it's not like even like you grew up with them.
No, I did grow up with them. Like, I knew my New York family. I used to come here every summer. It wasn't like I didn't know them. I grew up with them.
Okay.
But the fact was, I lived in the South, and if everyone down there can accept me for being quiet and not want to engage with people,
y'all have to too.
Yeah, what's the problem? Because I don't understand. And I think also it was that I just did not tolerate a lot of nonsense. So where everyone else used to do, I just did not do it. I'm not going above and beyond for people who are just mean to me. Why? For what? And I remember one time, I can't remember what happened. A situation happened, and I was talking to one of my favorite cousins, Keita, and she was like, oh, but you gotta remember so-and-so did this for you, and they did that for you. And I said, did I ask them? Did I ask them to do it for me? Did I require them to do it for me? When people do things, they're supposed to do it out of the goodness of their heart, right?
Yeah.
If you're doing it for recognition, don't do nothing for me. Because if we want to talk about what people do, then we could talk about what people do. Because then I could talk about what I have done for all of you.
Facts.
If we want to talk about what people do. And remember, that's how she was trying to justify their behavior towards me and how I shouldn't say anything back to them. No. And I'm just like, no. No.
Disrespect is disrespect.
Yeah, I don't care what age I am. I'm just not doing it. And, of course, everybody continues to talk about me. Oh, she thinks she's grown. I didn't care. I didn't care. I think it was also a personal beef with my biological mother. Like, they loved my biological mother, but there was also a lot of jealousy. And I'm just going to go ahead and say it. A lot of my aunts were jealous of my mother. Ooh. And my mother was a fly-ass bitch, fly as hell, but she had a lot of personal demons she dealt with that overrided her personality. So my mother was a drug addict. When she came out of the army, she engaged in drugs and all that good stuff. Also at the time in the 80s, everybody was doing whatever they was doing. Unfortunately, out of my aunt and my mother, because they was like a crew, my mother was the only one who was not able to beat her drug addiction. So my other aunts were like functioning drug addicts. But no one ever knew they were still doing drugs because they were functioning. I knew because I caught them. So to me, it was always like, how you want to judge my mother, but you're still actively doing drugs in your 50s. You're still doing them. You ain't stopped. So I've always felt like it was a lot of jealousy. I remember one time when I was little, I was like 5. One of my aunts, she fought my mother over a fur coat in our house. I will never forget that. It was her mother's coat, but her mother left it to my mother. Okay. So she felt like, that's my mother. She should have gave me the coat. And my mother like, no. Like, that was my favorite aunt. Like,
right, she left it to me.
She left it to me. I'm not, and now I have the coat. Like, now nobody gets the coat. So, to me, like, it was always that jealousy, and they would always say things like, oh, you know, your mother's bougie, your mother thinks she's better than anyone, but my mother always carried herself to a certain demeanor, even when she was doing drugs. It's just, I need to look this way, I need to be presentable this way, I need to make sure I speak this way. I don't want to have the characterization of being that ghetto black bitch. Like, I don't want to look like that. I don't want to be like that, and I always felt like it was jealousy. Even after my mother died, one of my aunts proceeded to tell me in a drunken rage, oh, that you think you was playing, that's why you wasn't playing, it was an accident, bitch. If you wasn't jealous of this human being, why would you proceed to then tell me that?
After she's
deceased.
Like,
she's deceased. She's deceased. Now, mind you, I already knew the story of how I came along. I already knew the story.
Kind of grown.
My mother was 33 when she had me. That's one. So,
oh, that makes sense.
That's one. She was 33. My mother did not want kids until she turned 30, and then she was like, all right, I can have one. It's not a problem. And after she had me, she was like, oh, okay, I think I want another one. She just never proceeded to have the second one. But my thing to that was, what triggered you to say that? We were literally in a car. She was drunk. It was all of us in the car. And she just started blurting out all my mother's business. All of it. All of her business. Oh, you think your mother was so good? Your mother was a hoe. Da-da-da, like the rest of us. We all hoes. Da-da-da. And I'm just looking at her like,
what that had to do with anything?
You are out the woodwork with this. Like, literally, it got so bad to the point, one of my cousins, Ern, who is very similar to my personality, pulled over the car and was like, you're going to walk back to New York. Ooh. We was driving from down south. You're going to walk back to New York. You're about to walk back to New York. Like, it was so intense. And I'm in the back seat with her like, if I hit this lady, I'm going to be wrong. Y'all going to go around and tell everybody how I abused her.
What she just did.
Right. But you're not going to teleport away back here saying you're talking about my mother. And everyone knows, even from a child, before my mother even passed on, I'm very sensitive when it comes to my mother. Don't talk about my mother. I don't care who you are. I will black on you. Do not talk about my mother. Any aunt who ever said anything my mother can ask you, they will tell you, Nia has cursed us out about my mother.
I knew you were sensitive about your mom when I was your best friend and I didn't know the story for a while. For a while, I did not know what her story was. That's when I knew, like, okay, right. She don't like talking about this.
So, then I know me, Queen cut off for you. After that, I don't want no involvement with you. And then I spoke to her the other day, because they told her, like, oh, you in the room? They told her I was in the room, and then she just was like, yo, no, I apologize for whatever I did to you. I'm sorry that I made you stay away. You know, I love you. Your mother was my favorite person, da-da-da-da-da-da. And I accepted it, because I'm in a healing space. I'm moving on. I cannot be holding grudges. But that goes to show you know that you did something wrong. Yeah. And you waited years. Yeah. To say something. Because y'all think I be playing when I say I'm going to cut you off. I'm going to cut you off. Like, it's not a joke. Even a story of, like, that aunt, she's a hairstylist. My mother went to her, I think she was deployed back here from Germany. She went to her to get her hair done. My mother has a lot of hair like me. And she proceeded to burn my mother's hair off with a hot comb. My mother has hair down her back, just like me. And they fought. Do you know? She burns her hair with the hot comb. You know how hot the hot comb gotta be for you to sizzle somebody's hair off?
Especially how the hot combs back then, you know, you had to put it on. Right. A lot of them put it on fire. Exactly. She's still like that. She's a hairstylist who used all old school tools. So that means you wasn't blowing it. You know how they shake it. You ain't doing nothing. You just put that shit on over there and sizzle that shit off. So people say things, you know, like, oh, you know, you bougie, you act like just like your mother or your grandmother, y'all feel like y'all better. It's not that. It's just that I'm going to carry myself in a certain manner. As you should.
It's a time and place and stuff. It's a time for ratchet activities. It's a time to be drunk and funny. It's a time when you need to be sophisticated and you need to use your language skills. It's just a time for things. And certain times, it's just not time for things. And you can't get mad at me if I feel like y'all embarrassing me. I don't want to engage. I don't want to be a part of it. And I was always like that. So my family will always be like, she thinks she better than us. Or whatever. She just like her mother.
But I don't even think that's like feeling like you better than them. That's just like you said, there's time and place for everything. If it's not the time and place to be loud and ratchet, then
yeah, I just don't
this isn't the time to be loud and ratchet.
And if I don't feel like talking, I don't have to speak. I come in a room, I say hello to everyone, I greet everyone, but I don't want to have conversation with you. I don't have to. Hello, how are you doing? You're great. How the kids? How this? How that? Alright, going in my room now.
I don't see nothing wrong with that personally.
Because I'm not extroverted, and that's the problem. And I think back then they just didn't get it, like what an extrovert and an introvert was. They didn't get it.
They looked at it to be rude.
Because my mother, she was an extrovert. Well, I would say she's an ambivert, but she got like that too in moods where she just did not want to talk. She didn't want to engage. And my grandmother is an extreme introvert. I don't want to engage. I don't want to engage. So now I'm an introvert on top of being socially awkward. I just don't want to do it. So because it's different from everyone else, I was treated different from everyone else. I was always treated different from everyone else. And they would try to say they didn't or whatever, but we know, we could see it.
Yeah.
Like you see the treatment from other children and versus how you treated me. It is what it is. Y'all think people don't see, people see it.
I honestly don't think that like the older generation realizes that we all notice those little things that kids can notice when they're being treated a certain way.
That's a fact.
Like, I swear, I feel like the older generation in my family don't see it. Like I feel like they truly don't see it, or they oblivious. Yeah, and I feel like they don't even feel like I noticed it growing up. Between me and my cousin. It was definitely a difference. It wasn't that I was more so the black sheep with my family. She was more so favored between the rest of us. Even like now, like, and don't get me wrong, I understand like there's cousins who might be closer to like the older generation. Right. But it would be things like my aunt would come home with a toy for her and she'll be like, oh, I didn't know you were here. And it's like, I come over every freaking day. You don't know I'm here?
Yo.
Like that's what it was. It's like, and then even that didn't make sense to me to an extent because my mother was different. Whether she knew somebody was there or not, she bought it for everybody. Right. Like also, like even she would come home with stuff for me. And she'll be like, well, this cousin might come up here, so I'm gonna buy this for her too. Right. Because she was at my house often. Right. But with my aunts, and it's an aunt who doesn't have any kids, with her it was like, oh, I didn't know you was here. And it's like,
so why would you not buy for all your nieces and nephews? Just
because you know I'm coming.
Right.
Like you know I'm coming. And especially back then, you know, me and that cousin, we're close in age. We're the only ones really close in age. I was over there almost every day during the week because my mom worked close. Right. So it was just kind of weird. It's like, how you don't know I'm coming? You know, even if I wasn't coming today, you know I'm going to be here in like 2 days. Right, so I wanted to.
Why you couldn't just buy two?
But see, now the problem with that was as other cousins started coming along, the ones who were around her more, whether they was there or not, she always had it for them though. Exactly. I wasn't around her that much.
So she took it out on you? I don't understand.
I don't know. She favored them.
But why?
I feel like my grandmother favors them. Not too long ago, y'all know we went through this whole pandemic. My grandmother, she has a disease, so we try to stay away from her. Right. But I haven't seen my grandmother in like I don't know how long, and I had dropped Amir off
and I wanted a hug from her. I was like, listen, I'll put a plastic bag over me. I don't give a, like, I don't care. I just need a hug from my grandmother. And she told me no, and I understood.
Right.
I was like, okay, we are still going through this.
Right.
I do be around other people.
Right.
I completely understand.
Right.
But then a few days later, my little cousin, she had her virtual graduation. This was in June, last June. She had a virtual graduation, and her sister went over there. They did it over there, and now you're sitting next to the cousin that I always felt that you favored, and her little sister. Mind you, the cousin that I always felt that she favored, be around her boyfriend, she was outside. Yeah, she was outside. So it was like, and none of them had on a mask. She was like touching next to her. So it was like, I couldn't get a hug from you, but you could do that. And it made me feel away.
Right.
Cause it's like, I don't see you often. I'm the main one who's been staying away from everybody.
Right.
During the whole pandemic. I was in the house.
She was in the house.
For 3 months until June. So from when we shut down to June, I was in the house. Only reason I wanted to come outside was because my friend passed.
Right.
So it was like, so you can sit next to her. She been outside this whole time, around people this whole time, but you can't give me a hug, and I was willing to put a garbage bag over me. It made me feel away.
Right.
And like, my mom brought it up to her because it's her mother, and my grandmother was like, she wasn't even thinking about it, but it was just like, how not? How you not thinking about it when you're the one with the disease? And even I thought about it to make sure you was okay. Mask on. Anything that needed to happen for me to just feel your arms around me. I'm getting a little emotional, y'all, because this has been my whole life with them. Like,
excuse us, y'all. We got a napkin.
This has been my entire, thank you, honey. This has been my entire life with feeling like they favored her all the time. And it just sucks because it'll be things like graduations. They only came, I didn't have an 8th grade graduation. I had to go to summer school that year. Whatever, I passed. So, but my high school graduation is the only one that I can say that my grandmother and that aunt been to. But with that cousin, they went to her pre-K, kindergarten, 5th grade, 8th, everything that she had. They went. For my 5th grade graduation, they made a hair appointment instead of coming to my graduation. But they made sure they was there for hers. So it was a lot of little things like that. And mind you, me and her, we're very close. Me and that cousin. And even in age, we're 3 years apart. So like seeing them go, I'm the oldest. It's not even like she's the oldest. I'm the oldest.
Right.
And y'all make sure y'all there for everything for her, but when it was me, it was like y'all couldn't make it.
Right.
And it's just like, why not?
Every time y'all can't.
Yeah, like every time. Like,
and y'all think someone is not supposed to question that. Or I'm not supposed to feel away. But it's so obvious.
It's obvious.
So I shouldn't be hurt.
Like that, and I think that's what it was just so obvious. Even as an adult with the hugging situation, it was like a 3-day difference. And it's like, but I literally just asked you for a hug and you told me no. And that's been my whole life with them. Them buying them things over me, it's been my entire life with them. And don't get me wrong, I know they love me. And she did live with them for a certain amount of time of her life. But that was probably up until 5. Not even her whole life. Right. Like my other little cousins. I have little cousins who she's 18 now. She literally can say she lived with my grandmother her whole life. Right. They lived across the hall from each other. They lived across, one building is here, one building is there, literally, right now. So she can say that, but the other one didn't even live with my grandmother her whole life for them to have a certain
But you couldn't even give me a hug though. But you could be next to them 3 days later.
Yeah, like.
And y'all not 6 feet. They have no mask on, no
at all.
Gear on.
And I was willing. But this is what I've been dealing with my whole life. I really don't even think. As far as my grandmother goes, I don't think she really notices that. Like,
she probably don't.
This is what it's been, because it's lit, and I hate to say it, but it's a part of the reason why I don't go around as much.
Right.
It's a part. They ask me why I don't bring a mirror around as much, and I don't think they'll do it to him. But he has. I have a little cousin who's around American age who's always constantly around him. I refuse for my child to feel how I felt growing up with the same people at that. I've never told them this. This is my first time actually like speaking about it out loud to where anybody can just hear it.
Right.
But I stay away because it's just like, y'all, it's obvious you favor her. So why am I coming around as much?
That's so crazy.
And you know what's crazy? They're not the only person who like made me feel like they favored somebody else. This sucks because I'm really a great person, y'all. Like, and I was the nice one in my family. I was quiet as a child. I really didn't. I feel like I'm the only one my grandmother never had to put her hands on.
Right.
Because I never really did nothing. Like, I never got in trouble by my grandmother. Like, I got in trouble by my mom, but that's my mom.
Right.
But between me and my cousins, no, I used to be chilling. But also my father, I feel as if he favored my older sister. There will be certain things that I would get yelled at for that she wouldn't. And things that you wouldn't even really yell at your kid for doing too much, especially with the explanation. Growing up, my sister was she's 5 years older than me. She was a teenager. I'm 10 years old. She's 15. She was being a teenager. Honestly, like that's just really the best way to explain it. She was being a teenager. Wouldn't come straight home from school. We all did it.
Right.
But my mom used to work evenings, so I would be home by myself for a little while.
Right.
I'm 10 years old. Can't really cook nothing. So I'm like, okay, my dad would have food in there. I'm like, oh, I could heat this up in the microwave.
Right.
I could eat. I would be home from like 3 to maybe like 6, 7 until my dad came home.
Right.
I would get yelled at for eating his food, and I would say, like, Daddy, I was hungry. I didn't have nothing here. He would not care. That's my food.
Right.
But if my sister did it, it was like, okay. And it's just like, what? And mind you, I'm the baby. He got 3 girls, and I am the baby. So I don't know why he favored my sister. I don't know. Even now as an adult, certain little things, I don't know as far as right now if he still does it, but the past few years, within from 20 to now, it will be things like he'll give her money and be like, oh, don't tell Jada.
Wow. Wow.
And it's just like, but why? Like,
wow.
But why? Like, mind you, like I said, she's older than me. It's not even like she's the youngest. There was another time with food again. My dad, he had bought fish to fry, and he gave my mom and my sister a piece. And when I asked for it, his response to me was, come on, I didn't even have enough to give them, and I gave them. And I got emotional.
Wow.
Right. Because it's like,
you shouldn't have gave nobody.
Right.
Well, you should have bought enough. You know you got a family.
Thank you. So when that happened, of course I got emotional because it took me back to when I was a child. And like I said, my mother wasn't really around to see it happening. I didn't tell her for a while. So now when that happened and he said that to me, my mother was very upset because she's like, she always told me you did this to her and I never seen it.
Right.
And this is what she's always talking about.
Right.
Like, this is literally what she's always talking about. I don't want to. Ever since my grandmother died, my dad, he a little depressed. Mm-hmm. His mind is a little messed up. He uses things that might like make him act stupid. He apologized for it, but at first, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't accept the apology. I've been called a bitch by my father. I was told fuck you by my daddy. And I can laugh about it right now, but when it happened, it was like, I don't want to talk to you.
No, for real.
I want nothing to do with you. Right now, I am trying to build a better relationship with my father, but it was a lot. Like, just constantly feeling like he favored my sister. Mind you, she was disrespectful.
Right.
Growing up. I'm not gonna lie, when it came to me and my dad, I was a little disrespectful too, but it was because of this. It was because I'm watching you favor somebody and you want me to have a certain level of respect for you that I can't have.
Right.
Because you do things like this to me. You sit here and like just out in the open is favoring my older sister.
And I'm supposed to be like, oh, you're the greatest daddy ever. No.
And don't get me wrong, he's the greatest grandfather. I give him that. He does for Amir, but when it came to me, it was just a little different growing up. And that shit is wild.
That shit is hurtful.
It is, like, literally just seeing the people that you love so much, especially a parent, favor one of your siblings. And it's not even like it was my sister that I lived with. We had the same mother and father. I have an older sister who don't have the same mother, but it's in my household.
Right.
I feel like if I didn't see it as much, I wouldn't feel this way.
Right.
But literally, it was in the same household. So not only was I dealing with favoritism when I would go to my grandmother's house, I'm dealing with favoritism in my own home.
Right. So now I'm feeling alone in both situations. And it's like, damn, what's wrong with me?
Yeah, because it's like I said, as a child, I didn't do nothing. I was the good one. Like, literally, I was the good one between my cousin and my sister. I was the good one. So it's like, why? Just why?
Right.
It's hurtful. I'm still mentally dealing with it now, like, trying to heal myself. It's hard. Mm-hmm. Not gonna lie, it's hard. Because it's like, you want to be so close to these people, but it's like, can I?
Yeah, I don't trust you.
Yeah, because you're still doing it as I'm an adult now, and you're still doing it. We're all adults now. Even the cousin, like I said, she's only 3 years younger than me. But
and it's still happening.
Yeah, it still happens. So it's like, how can I fully heal and want to be around y'all all the time, and feel like I can be around y'all all the time when it's still happening?
Right.
Like I said, I'm not gonna lie, my dad, I noticed that he is trying.
Right.
I give him that. He's trying. We don't live together anymore. And I feel like that's what helped us.
Right, yeah.
Us not living together. Cause he is trying. He calls me all the time. He's like, yo, just call me. And it's a little hard for me. I'm not gonna lie. And I be apologizing to him.
Wait, cause you gotta give me time.
Yeah. Because it is a little hard for me to like really pick up the phone and call him and just want to talk to him.
Right.
I randomly even call my grandmother sometimes. One time I just called her just to tell her I loved her. But it's hard. Mm-hmm. It's hard because it's still happening. It's like, how can I fully heal if it's still happening? I don't know.
Actively happening.
Yeah, like I don't. It's hard. But I am trying. It just takes time.
Yeah, it does. It's an ongoing process. You'll never be fully healed from your traumas, but the fact that you're working on it, it helps yourself. And also, it definitely helps when people identify the problem, mm-hmm. like own up to what you did and apologize for it. That helps a lot.
Yeah.
To be like, you know what, I messed up in this area. I did. I got y'all up, right? And I apologize for it. Like I deeply apologize. If I did something to my kid and they come to me and say, hey, I didn't like when you did this, and I recognize what they are saying, I hurt their feelings. Just because you don't feel like you hurt my feelings does not mean you did not hurt my feelings. Like, so you guys have to validate people's emotions. You do.
You know, with my dad, I think it's harder because let's be real, a lot of men are narcissists. Like, they don't feel like they ever do anything wrong. So with my dad, when I would tell him, like, you made me feel, I didn't do that. Yeah. It was always, didn't I? Like, he would always, like, reflect it to other things. And it's like, but daddy, I'm telling you. So for a while, I didn't get that apology. Right. For years, I went without, like, constantly trying to tell him, you made me feel this way. And always him reflecting it and telling me he didn't.
That's not how it works. That's not how it works.
My grandmother and my aunt, I never really
said anything.
Yeah, my mom said something. I never really said anything. So, no, I'm lying. I didn't. My grandmother apologized. But this was years ago, but like I said, it's still happening. Yeah, so it's like,
it's whatever.
I hate to say, like, did you really mean the apology?
No.
You're telling me I'm sorry because you knew you were wrong, but if you're still subconsciously doing it,
it's apology would change behavior though.
Yeah, that's what I need. I can't. Apologies don't work for me,
and that goes across anything, relationships, friendships, whatever. Apology and change behavior. You need to validate the reason that someone is calling you out. Apologize and change your behavior going forward. Like, I just don't get why y'all make things so complicated. Like,
the older generation isn't used to this.
Like, if someone calls me out, any of my siblings say, hey, at this point in time of year, you made me feel this type of way. Even if I felt strong deep in my heart, I didn't do that. I cannot sit and say, I did not do that. I cannot sit and say that. I cannot sit and listen with defensive ears. I have to listen to what they are saying and validate their emotions and their experience, because I am not in their shoes to say, I did not do that to you. I cannot say that.
Because it's as simple as I didn't mean to do that.
Right. I wasn't even aware that I was doing it.
Right.
But if I made you feel uncomfortable, sad, hurt, damaged, I apologize. Because I would never want to intentionally hurt someone that I love.
Yeah.
I don't understand why you guys make this so apologizing is really not that hard.
With change behavior.
Yeah, it's not. It's not. Change your ways. A lot of y'all are unhappy in that older generation because y'all don't want to change y'all ways. Oh, apologize for what you did in 1989. Just because it is 2021 does not mean that person ain't still hurting from it.
That's a fact.
Okay? Y'all damage a lot of y'all kids.
I hold grudges.
Yo, millennials are really outside. Okay? And we're trying so hard to make sure that our children are not outside.
So hard.
Okay?
So hard.
To the point that some of y'all may even feel like we're way too sensitive when it comes to the parents thing. But at this point, it's just like, I just don't want to be like y'all.
No.
Just like y'all was parenting us like slave masters, some of y'all.
Honestly.
Y'all, you would have thought I came to you and said, yeah, you about to get pregnant with me because I need to be born right here, right now. No. You choose to bring me here in this piece of shit world. I didn't ask to come here. So please, guys, please, heal your relationships with whomever.
Yeah.
If that person matters to you, you need to heal your relationships. And a lot of y'all ain't gonna have no good karma until you go ahead and fix whatever you did.
Yeah.
Alright, yeah?
Well, as y'all know, that is all for today. We gonna be here every Thursday. Me and see your mom, girl.
Like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Bye, guys.